You want to take a ride home with me today? It's a pretty blue sky for once. It's been so overcast and gloomy that it makes your mood that way. It's windy, but it's an overall nice fall day. That's what I'm going to call it. Autumn day, whatever you want to call it. It's really pretty out here this time. Maybe there'll be some of the animals out. I don't know. Sometimes the cattle and donkeys and stuff are out, but not always. They may be on a back pasture. None of them are out right here. But over the bridge up here, there may be the free-range chickens might be out, or a little further down I might find some cattle or some sheep or goats if they're out. Sometimes they kind of stay hidden, and other times they move to the front pastures. Guess it's just going to depend. It's a nice 75 degrees here today, according to my car anyways. Yep, going over the second little bridge. Haven't seen any of the animals yet. Maybe one day when I take you guys along with me, we'll come across the fox or one of the coyotes that run around out here. Skunks, no thank you. I don't want to see them. And raccoons and armadillos, they're prevalent, but I do my best to avoid them. And occasionally you might even see a little slithery snake going across the road. But it looks like all of our animals are hidden today. None of them are out at the front fences like they normally would be. So I guess it's just you and me on the way home today. I want to thank those of you that sent me birthday wishes on the 22nd. I appreciate that. It's nice to be thought of and know that I have people out there that care. To the rest of you, I want you to know that I think about you often, and I wish nothing but the best for all of you. Life is too short to be angry all the time or hold grudges, so I just kind of let everything roll off my back like water off of a duck's back, but it's not always easy to forget what's happened. I was sitting down today and I got about 30 pages of another book done, in between work and the little bit of free time that I had after that. Because I had some downtime today at work, and usually when that happens I do a little bit of writing on one of my books. This one was especially difficult to write because it's probably some of the most painful experiences I've ever experienced in my life. But it's something that needs to be written for myself and for a lot of other people, because it's a subject that doesn't get talked about. And I'll go into more detail on that later, at a later date, once I get around to telling you all a little bit about what that book's about. I've got about 30 pages of a book on grief done. I never really knew the full magnitude of how grief affects you until being a caregiver for my mom for all those years. I lost a brother several years back in the 90s, and I had to make some tough decisions for him in his life as well, and that hit me hard. And losing my grandmother hit me hard because she raised us for a period of time when my mom was going through a lot of things, and but it wasn't really until I lost my mom in 2018 that I really felt the full magnitude of what an unwelcome and unwanted visitor grief is, and how devastating grief can be, and how it changes every aspect of your life, and how you think and feel and react to stuff. And so I'm writing a book about that. It's a 365-day journey through grief. And grief doesn't just end in 365 days. It's something you'll live with the rest of your life. But I got, the idea to sit down and write that after I went through some things after losing her, and wondering if I made the right decisions, and if I did enough, or could I have done more, or should I have done more. And then with reliving some of the very things that happened in my life that were so painful for me, I decided it was time to sit down and write those 2 books. So that's what I've been working on. Whenever I get hit with that overwhelming emotion that I need to be writing more on one or both of those books, I do. And today just happened to be one of those days where 30 pages got written. There time may go by where I don't get any of that written. I may go 2 or 3 weeks without writing anything, and that's just how it works when you write. Sometimes I'll write every day. I'll write, I may only write 2 or 3 pages, but I'm writing every day. And then there are other times when, like today, I'll write for 8 straight hours. It just depends on what it is. And, I have one more paranormal book that'll be coming out very soon as well. It's close to being at the end stages. There's some tweaking that needs to be done, some fine tuning, as they say. But to those of you that have been gracious enough to read my books or want to read them, I appreciate your support and your encouragement. And there are several of you, and I don't want to name everybody individually because this would be a very long video if I tried to do that. So I'm not going to do that. I'll just simply say this. You know who you are. You know how I feel about you. You know the impact you've had on my life, and you know what you helped me get through. And without you, I never would have made it to this point in my life, because during that very dark time, and there's a great majority of you that know what I'm talking about, I seriously contemplated disappearing from this entire world. And had several of you not stayed with me for 24, 48, 72, 96 hours like you did, I may not be here right now. Because that was probably one of the most degrading and demoralizing things I've ever been through. But it made me a better person. It made me a stronger person. It made me a person that realized that I don't have to sequester my voice because someone else doesn't like what I have to say. I don't have to be silent all the time. I don't have to be in the background or the shadows. That I'm important and I matter. And even if I don't matter to anybody else out there, I matter to myself. And that's the important thing. That I know I have self-worth, and I know that I make a difference. I may not make a difference in your life, but I make a difference in the lives of everybody around me. And that's what's important. And any of you that know me, and there are quite a few of you that do, because several of you have my personal information and contact information, and that's not something I just give out to just anyone, knows that I don't take anything for granted, that I'm appreciative of everything, and I'm humbled by the acknowledgement that so many of you give me. I can't begin to tell you the impact that many of you have made on my life, how you've given me the courage to stand up and do things that I probably never would have done in my life, but I've done them, and I'm accomplished at what I've set out to do. I self-published my books. I didn't wait for somebody to reject me. I didn't wait for somebody to tell me I wasn't good enough. I did it myself. And by doing that, I gave myself power. I gave myself the ability to know that I can stand on my own, that I can accomplish whatever I set my mind to, and that I can do it well. And I also want to take a moment to thank those of you that have reached out and asked for my help or advice, or who have welcomed me with open arms without question or judgment, and who haven't compared me to someone else, who've let me be me, who've let me be unique, and who've let me be imperfectly perfect, who've let me be beautifully broken, and who've let me be the person that I'm supposed to be, that I want to be. And by doing that, you've given me the power and the ability to continue on my journey in this life, knowing that what I'm doing because I'm supposed to be doing it. I'm not doing it for glory. I'm not doing it for fame or praise. I do what I do because it's what I love to do. It's what feeds my soul. It's what feeds my spirit. It's what makes me who I am. It's what gives me that unique ability to see far beyond the natural into the supernatural. It's what gives me the ability to hear far beyond what you could normally hear. And it's what gives me that ability to know that there's a greater connectivity between all of us than what you just see physically. There's a cord and a bond that exists far beyond our own reality or anything that we could ever imagine within our human mind. It goes far beyond that. It passes all space, distance, and time. It transcends this life into the next and the one before. And it's something that binds us all together and draws us all together at the time that we need to be together. And that's what's happened right now. There's a wonderful group of people together that just enjoy being together, that thrive off of knowing that each other is all right, that lift each other up instead of tear each other down, that give each other hope when we feel like there isn't any, that love us when we don't love ourselves, that surround us with building blocks so that we can fortify our own foundations in this life, and that allow us to be who we want to be without fear of persecution, judgment, or being degraded, defamed, or demoralized. And for that, there are no words of thanks that would be adequate. There's no action that can be given that would truly show you the depth of what that means to a person's soul. When the soul cries, it's a mournful cry. And when it rejoices with such a light that it beckons and calls others with that same light together. And that's exactly what's happened. You're accepted for who you are, loved for just being you, and appreciated for what you bring to my life, not because of what I can gain from you or get from you, but simply because you're in my life. And that in and of itself is a gift that should be cherished. Far too often in this life, people are taken for granted, but I don't. I appreciate every single one of you that's in my life, and I can't thank you enough for being in my life. And with that said, I'm going to end this. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everybody. And remember that you're thought of, cared about, and loved, and that you're never alone in this life, because there's always someone out here that cares about you.